We just got our first look into episode 2. Glitch released a tweet just last night showing a photo of Pomni's door, and they said 100k likes to open the door, and they hit that in under 24 hours, but they left a reply saying that was too fast, almost as if they were gonna go back on their word and not show us the inside of Pomni's room. However, earlier today, they finally showed us the inside with one important detail. If you remember from a month ago when we were given our first glimpse into episode 2 with Pomni's room and her sleeping on the bed, she had her eyes closed and was in a constant looped gif of her snoring and sleeping forever. But if we look very closely at the screenshot, you can see her eyes are wide open, almost as if she just woke up and then realized where she was. She realized she was still stuck inside of the circus and that it wasn't just a bad dream. As well, we can see the exact same Jack-in-the-Box toy that we saw on the Wacky Watch website, and even Pomni is laying in the exact same position that she was in the looped gif that we got a while ago. And this directly proves one of my best predictions of all time, that the trailer for episode 2 will begin with Pomni waking up, and then we get to see more of episode 2 and what happens in the episode. But what's interesting about her room is that she has the iconic red curtains all around her. Maybe it's because they're the color red and Pomni is half red, so they put them there, but for me that's actually a bit interesting. It may mean that her character has something to do with the circus, as we know that each character's room has to do with their personality. Like if we look at Gango's room, we can see that there are a bunch of broken masks that she's broken in the past. And in Kaufmo's room, we can see toys that relate to him being a clown. And in Pomni's room, we can see the same toys, but the curtains really do make me wonder if she has more to do with the circus than we originally thought. But here's what I love most about the new teaser that dropped. It doesn't just tell us a bit about the story, but also a lot about the release date. If you genuinely think about it, why is Glitch trying to create all this hype around the Amazing Digital Circus right now? It wouldn't make sense unless they're planning on releasing the next episode soon. And this is technically our 5th teaser into episode 2, and they keep coming quicker and quicker, getting bigger and bigger, with the first being the Wacky Watch video that didn't really show us much. Then we saw some new characters, which really opened my eyes, and it's like, okay, the next episode is gonna have a lot more new stuff to focus on. Then we got to look into the animation of the next episode, which goes to show that they're working on it and getting it done. And then we got the screenshot of her door, which is like a teaser of a teaser, because we just got the 5th teaser where they actually revealed the inside of Pomni's room and that she's now finally awake. And because of all this hype that they're building up, it can only mean one thing, and it's that they're preparing for the next episode to come out, and they need to build up hype. I've made a couple videos in the past talking about the release date of episode 2, and I said that Glitch is gonna wait until after August to release the next episode for the Amazing Digital Circus. And this is because they have to also release episodes 7 and 8 for Murder Drones and the pilot episode for their new show, The Gaslight District. They have 3 other full episodes that they have to make before making episode 2 of the Amazing Digital Circus. However, I did say that doing that will kill the fan base that they've built up for the Amazing Digital Circus, because with their other show, Murder Drones, they took a year to release the 2nd episode and lost half of their fan base in just that 1 year. So maybe Glitch realized that the success of the Amazing Digital Circus is way too big to release all of their other episodes in order, which means they've put a halt on the Murder Drones and Gaslight District shows to work more on the Amazing Digital Circus, which some people might be upset about if they're a fan of Murder Drones. However, I think it's a good move as long as they don't delay Murder Drones too much and forget about their original fan base, because they do need money. Although they are very passionate about animation, the animation is expensive. So if they were to slightly, and I mean slightly, not fully, but slightly change their focus to the Amazing Digital Circus, they'd have more money for their other shows. And the reason that I'm saying all of this is because why would they bring all the attention to the next episode of the Amazing Digital Circus? The only possible reason is that episode 2 is getting close, and in my guess, we're a couple weeks away from the actual trailer and a couple months away from the actual episode. Their tweet now has almost 200,000 likes, which is double of their original goal, which they probably thought wasn't going to happen, but it did, and they're probably very happy for it because they still have a lot of hype around the show and they need to capitalize on it. And now everyone is liking their new tweet where they finally showed us what the inside of Pomni's room really looks like, rather than just showing us the top-down view of Pomni sleeping where we can only see her bed. I also did mention in a previous video, now that Pomni's awake, the reason she'd be waking up is because she would be woken up by a knock on her door. If you remember in the pilot episode when Pomni first spawned in, Ragatha, Pomni, and Jax all went to Kaufmo's room to introduce Pomni to Kaufmo. And in the second teaser for episode 2, we can see that we're getting 4 brand new characters, and they might not all be new circus members, some of them could be NPCs, but my guess is that at least one of them is a brand new circus member that we'll get to see join the rest of the crew. And when they spawn in, we might see Ragatha and maybe some others come to Pomni's room to introduce whoever the new character is to Pomni. But thankfully this time we won't see the door open to an abstraction like with what happened with Kaufmo, but instead we'll get to see an interesting interaction with the characters, because it's always been Pomni as the new circus member. But now that she's been in the circus for nearly 4 months and she's become a part of it, and we'll now see a new person join, Pomni might try to be really nice to one of these new characters, just like how Ragatha was nice to her when she first joined. Even though Pomni literally left Ragatha for dead on 2 separate occasions to save herself, I think that now Pomni's in the circus for good, and she'll still be shy but caring for the other characters in the circus. So pretty soon we're gonna see an announcement for the second trailer, and in that trailer my theory is that it will start out with a Pomni sleeping gif which was teased a while back on the Wacky Watch website, and then it will pan the camera to where we see her entire room just like in the recent screenshot, and we'll hear a knock at the door to where Pomni jolts awake and goes to answer the door, and that's when we meet our new characters. And then we'll get to see more of what's gonna happen in episode 2, because if you remember in the trailer for the pilot episode, we saw Kane introduce us to the circus and he starts flipping back and forth between rooms. However, when he flips to the dorm hall, we saw Kaufmo's foot just barely stepping out, which was foreshadowing Kaufmo's abstraction. It's just that we didn't know it at the time, and so with the episode 2 trailer, my theory is that the new character who's joining the circus could be evil. And not evil like Jax, where he just hates everyone and does some not so nice things, but evil to the point where they know more about the circus than the other circus members and do things to sabotage another person or maybe the entire circus. Kind of like how we know that Jax put a centipede in Ragatha's room to mess with her, it could be possible to add to the mystery of the show that this new character will find the exit door and figure something out about it and keep it to themselves, or it's possible that they could be working with Kane and secretly be an NPC. However, what's most likely that's going to happen is that they're just going to be a new character, and they'll definitely still have some importance, but maybe not to that extent. I think episode 2 will still focus around mainly Pomni and a bit on another character, because we know that Gooseworks said that each character will get their own episode centered around them, but with Pomni being the main character and almost every teaser for the next episode is literally centered around her, it's fair to say that we'll learn a lot more about Pomni's curiosity and what woke her up from her 2-month-long sleep, and we'll learn more about this new character that we're getting introduced to. And we just don't know who it's going to be. It could be the character on the left who's more slender, we could see the character on the middle left who's kind of like a ghost / glowing person, or it could be a princess character to where she acts like a diva or acts entitled, and then we'll see how Jax deals with that, or it could be the blue guy on the right who looks like he's just really friendly. However, Kaufmo is also really friendly and no one really liked him. But that's all the information that I could find. Let me know what I missed down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video here.